Hello, 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 hello. How are we? How are we all? A couple of seconds late from the 5 minute timer that I usually do, but we're back. Been a long week and a bit since Chelsea won the Club World Cup. Of course, I've been away. Really nice to have a break, but just so good whilst I was away to have not only the dopamine of Chelsea winning, right? But the channel just took off whilst I was on holiday. I don't know why. Well, I do, but it was the video after winning the Club World Cup did so well. But the support has been unbelievable. So thank you all for that. Truly, thank you for all of the support because it made my week that much better having a week off. I mean, we're on 6.5k subs now. Pretty much when we went away, we was on about just over 5k. We'd just hit that landmark like the day before I went away. So 1.5k in what is it, like 9 days? It's mad, absolutely mad. So thank you all. So let's talk some Chelsea today. Well, I've got a lot of stuff to do. Like I've barely even had time to unpack or do anything. We've had Javi Simons things. Been doing some work on Liverpool and like obviously Ekitike and things lately. Arsenal as well have a few sort of similar signings. So I've been absolutely rammed with work straight away coming back from holiday. So busy. But how is everybody? Let's have a little chat, see how everybody is, reconvene. Drop a like if you haven't already. As always, as I always say, it really does help the channel, even if we just get all the likes done at the beginning. We're on 21 already. We've got 43 in the building. Can we whack that to at least 40? That would be brilliant. Again, we're always aiming for that 100 mark if we can by the end of the stream. So yeah, let's have a little look how people are doing. Then the sort of how we're going to go through this stream is I want to go over the how should we do it? I want to go over the attacking unit as a whole before we then speak about Xavi Simons, because I've got a Xavi Simons video coming out tomorrow, which, yes, I've been quite literally working whilst I was on holiday, grabbing like clips and things. So again, even though I'm on holiday, I'm not stopping. I'm grinding. So we're getting all this stuff together. So that video will be out tomorrow on the channel, a scout report, a scout files on Javi Simons, how he'll fit at Chelsea, etc., etc. But in today's stream, I want to talk about the attacking unit, how it's sort of comprised, talking about like that, what's the perfect attacking dynamics for this Chelsea team, but also just in the Premier League in general, so that we can then get a grasp on what Chelsea need to add, why they'd want to add a hybrid, etc., etc. And then we can talk about at the end of the stream, we can answer some questions, we can talk about Javi Simons and a bit like that, because then we'll have a little bit more context behind the idea of Javi Simons and what he could bring to the team. So that's sort of what the aim of this stream is to bring, is a bit more context to the conversation. So yeah, let's go. Rajev says hi. Daniel Knight would take Javi Simons at Chelsea over Garnacho. I think a lot of people would. Up the Chelsea from Osama. Zach Simmons, so excited about this transfer. Both Palmer and Simmons occupying the half spaces. With Gittins, it's going to be cinema. Keep all three of those players in mind, because when we talk about this attacking dynamic, those three together, quite key. How are we, Azir? How are we? I'm good. I'm very good. I feel refreshed. I'm happy with the channel's growth. Everything has just been brilliant. So yeah, really good. How are you? Seems like we could get Simmons Hato double sweep this week. Would be so good. It really would. Hato is somebody I want badly. Especially if, as Azir says here, it looks like Vega could be off to Atletico Madrid, and it looks like a half decent price. So have you got the gold badge yet? I don't. I'm waiting to order it. I'm gonna, because I think I'm gonna, instead of getting the winners tag, what I usually do is I get a player on the back, and I usually get a different player every single year. So I've got about 60 kits, and I've got 60 odd different players, maybe like 59 different players where I might have had like the odd dupe. I'm thinking about going, because I had a Cole Palmer kit from his first season, but it's obviously number 20. So now that he's number 10, I'm thinking about going for a Cole Palmer 10 home shirt with the gold badge to sort of memory, because obviously it was sort of his final against PSG, so it sort of links up nicely. Big up Jun Low. Hello, mate. Looks like Enzo's going to get his central carrier. It does. Been a great week watching all the rival fans lose their head, for sure. Not excited about Simmons, to be honest. Not seeing much about him. Looks a bit lightweight. And that links in to Reece James saying, remember when I brought up Simmons and you dismissed the idea? I manifested this. Now, I want to put this out there early, because if people remember back, and let me know if you do remember, if you don't remember, if you remember what I said, I said about Javi Simons, the reason I was a little bit sort of off on him was because we hadn't signed a Gittins or anyone yet, and I wanted more physical power on that left-hand side. Without Gittins, if we'd have just signed, and this is what I said about Malik Fofana as well, we needed a different profile with more power. And again, we're going to talk about why I think we need those sort of abilities in a bit when we talk about that attacking unit. But the reason for Simons is I don't think he has that same power in terms of his physicality, his raw physicality. Now, I think he has different athletic traits that really do help him. And we're going to talk about all those in tomorrow's video. But yes, he is a little bit lightweight on the outside of a block. On the inside of a block, a little bit better. On the outside of a block, can be sort of bullied a little bit. All good, George. Thank you very much for the support. And of course, you can come back, watch this later. There's going to be a video out later tonight as well. I'm aiming to upload 5 videos this week. One Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So all the support and all of those would be brilliant. Big up CFC Finest. The model is modelling. Literally as Zach. It's very good. Yes, this is a bit of a difference with Simons. And this is what I mean when I say bullied and I say athleticism and I say power, it doesn't mean duel winning. Power means sort of like, again, when he's on the carry, does he have the explosiveness to burst past somebody on the outside of a block? So again, that will all be covered in tomorrow's video. And yes, you think Simons to do with how we'll play low blocks, and I agree. But this sort of dual winning of Simons is quite key because, again, like I said with João Pedro, when we did that sort of whole conundrum, differently to Nkunku and Felix, what Simons gives you is he presses backwards really, really well. He works hard. He's willing to go to ground to win the ball back. He does have that extra bit of dual winning capacity. Okay? So we'll speak about that as well. Simons will feature at left wing, but inside with Cuckoo providing width and Enzo deeper than usual. This is a possibility, yes. But, again, I'm going to speak about what I think could be the absolute optimal way to use them based on what you want to do. So we'll speak about this, but this is definitely one of the options. Would you rather Simons for 50 or Rodgers for 40 or Rodgers for 85? That is tough because I think Simons at 50 is just so good. Like, I would have expected Simons to be like around 65. So Simons at 50, I think, represents really good value. I prefer Rodgers in terms of what I think we could use and maybe like a little bit more suited to adding multiple assets, especially with, again, that power on the outside of a block. But Simons at 50 is just ridiculously good. So I would take Simons at 50 probably over Rodgers at 85 just because I think the optics of that are just so good. And I also think the fans would prefer Let me know in the chat really quickly. Just put Simons or Rodgers because I'm trying to gauge this. I feel like the fans want Simons more, regardless of price. If they were the same price, I feel like they would. People would still say. Sorry, I was just checking because somebody said in the chat Simons to Chelsea tick. I was just making sure, and that's exactly what I mean, Zach. I think he's more of a name. Okay, so a lot of people are actually saying Rodgers, which is fair. But that was my thought process, Zach, is that I think that people would prefer Simons because he's a bigger name in terms of like the football sphere as of right now. Obviously, Rodgers has the back end of like he has last season to go off of. But Simons is just one of those names. He's been around, like PSG picked him up. He's been doing really well for Leipzig, really good in the Euros and stuff for Netherlands. So, yeah, and that's what I mean. Osama saying he would take Simons regardless of price. So I think that's fair. I think that's what people will sort of go for. Right. Don't you have concerns about Rodgers' creative stats? Think his passing is overrated and dribbling not as slick. Within inside of a block, I don't think his passing is overrated. And I think his carrying is like unbelievable. His central carrying, purely to do with his power, is so good. I do think in terms of a creative passer and more of a creator, that Simons has more sort of tools on the inside of a block to really hurt them. In technical ability, he is superior to Rodgers. I agree. Technically, he's got that low center of gravity. He's very sort of shifty on the inside of a block. Again, his creative passing. He's willing to sort of take those risky passes, even from when in crowded areas. So yes, I agree with that. Let's go into a section of this video that I want to speak about because the ultimate sort of attack. Okay. Now, I'm not going to be reading the chat for a minute. So either sort of take a 5 to 10 minute break from the chat or get ready to repost them when I ask for a little bit more sort of engagement after this sort of 10-minute section. But what I want to quickly go over to is this. This. So, attacking unit is what I want to talk about. And I want to talk about the optimal attacking unit and how Maresca is kind of looking to create this attacking unit and what he wants in this attacking unit to build an optimal and functional attack. Now, this is, of course, quite reductive. These are quite reductive terms. These are very simplistic, and there's a lot more to this. But what I wanted to start this sort of section with is, in an attack, most teams at the minute, they sort of defend with 5, whether that's a 3-2 rest defense, whether it's a 4-1. It depends how teams are sort of shaping up. But most teams will attack with 5 in the last line, or they'll look to have 5 attack in the last line with either your 2 number 10s or 2 number 8s. You have your 2 wingers. Again, this could be a fullback providing width. The fullback could be providing sort of in the middle of the pitch. They could be inverted. And then, of course, you've got your striker. So usually you've got those 5 players sort of shifted along the front. Again, in Chelsea dynamic and system, you would see last season you would have seen 2 high and wide wingers, 2 number 8, sort of, the number 10 of Cole Palmer, and then say Enzo Fernandez pushed up, and then you got the number 9 up front. So within these 5 roles, what you really want is you want your primary creator, okay? So in this sense, we're talking Cole Palmer. Primary creator, whether he starts on the right, whether he starts in the 10, he's your primary creator. Now, one thing to point out about being the primary creator and the secondary creator, which as you can see is the second sort of role here, it's not about volume of creating. I think sometimes the secondary creator, because, for example, let's say that the secondary creator in last year's system, or even in points going into next season, Enzo Fernandez. That's not to say in some games Enzo Fernandez won't have more involvement because Cole Palmer will be marked out of the game more often. He'll be man-marked, and he can influence the game in a different way. Think of it as basketball. You've got your primary ball handler. But if they get double-teamed, who's your second guy? And I think as a creator, that's Enzo Fernandez. Again, Enzo Fernandez, what's brilliant about a team like Chelsea or a team that's sort of like the top end is usually your secondary creator has the ability and the quality to be a primary creator in another team because they're good enough for that. And that's why you're so strong elite teams. They have that depth. They have that level of quality. Now, important, I've put here runner, and I've just put it as 2, so you can have runner 1, runner 2. It's not really, the point is you need both. You need at least 2 runners, in my opinion. If you have 1 runner, in certain games, it can work. But you need to have 2 people that sort of stretch the pitch because otherwise it's much easier to sort of get close to and stop these creators really influencing the game to the level that they want to. Of course, they still can because they're quality players, but these runners are so important. And last season when Madueke and Jackson both went down injured, Chelsea really suffered in that sense because Pedro Neto was the only one really providing those runs in behind. And then you had the likes of Palmer, Sancho, Enzo, all sort of ball-to-feet players that were really struggling to sort of open up those spaces, and Gusto was actually somebody who provided a little bit of an option as that runner whilst those players was out, and that's something that we're going to have to again discuss going into this sort of how Enzo Maresca is sort of trying to build this team. Now, number 5 we've written down here is a filler. Now, what I mean by this is he can be a bit of everything. He can be sort of that third ball handler if you need him to. He can drop in deep. He can run in behind. He can be a hold-up player. He can they can do a lot of everything, and they can be almost what the manager needs is like a flex player to offer what they need at that very moment. So if they need extra of something, that's what they can bring. Now, like I said, this is very reductive. Now, what you're also then looking at is within these roles, do you have different forms of creativity? Do you have creative passers? Do you have players that are do you have a crosser in the team? Somebody who's got very good sort of crossing ability? Do you have shooters? Another key one. Again, do you have those outlet runners? Do you have sort of relentless runners in behind? Things like this, okay? So that is something to take into account. When I say these 5 roles, it doesn't then mean that that's just it. Obviously, of course, within these roles, you then have a list of sort of key performance indicators where you need to find those and make sure that the team has a good mixture of everything. Now, if we go back to... Where is it? Here. Now that we've got an understanding of what the roles are, again, vaguely, Cole Palmer, whether he's on the right or he's in the 10, that is going to be your sort of primary creator. Now, Enzo, let's do a different colour box. Enzo's sort of been your secondary creator. Okay, your runners last season, but again, let's say this season as well, because you have Madueke. Let's put it as yellow. Let's say they're your runners, your two wide men, and then you got your flex player in João Pedro. Now, how can this twist with the signings that we've got? Now, one thing, of course, you got, if this was to be these two are the pocket players, let's say Palmer's in the 10, Neto's on the right, Gittins on the left. Both these players can provide the relentless running on the outside. Perfect. João Pedro, perfect to be that flex player. Very, very good. Now, let's say Delap starts up front. Now, Delap is you could call him a bit of a flex player, but I think with how Enzo Maresca is going to use him as an outlet, he'd be deemed as more of sort of a relentless runner. He's going to cause chaos in behind. He's going to sort of attack those spaces in the channels. He's going to be more of a runner. I would say the same for Jackson if he's in the team. So let's just have it as that now becomes a runner. Now, you can sort of have it where, let's say, Neto, you don't really need all three of these to be runners. And again, certain games, maybe you do. If they play a really high line, let's say against Brighton last season, you probably do want to have the extra runner in the front line and just leave this sort of long ball and like that creative ability in the middle of the park. So in this sense, maybe you do add the extra runner into the team. But if you're trying to keep that sort of optimal balance, this is now maybe where Neto could come out, Esteval could come in, and Esteval kind of becomes that flex player because he can sort of swap over with Palmer when he needs to. He can offer that little bit of creativity. He's also got the ability to run in behind and score goals. So he can be a bit of everything. He can join in with the creativity in the middle of the park, or he could even become your secondary creator because him and Palmer, especially on that right-hand side, they sort of have that link, which then means that Enzo maybe isn't needed in there for that same role. Now, again, Enzo can be a bit of a flex player because he can attack the box. And these players, a lot of them have the ability to do multiple things. But this could then maybe even be, let's say that, I don't know, Enzo was to drop back. Now, this would be with Casado, but let's just say Enzo sort of, let's say if he was to either drop back or be out the team. This player could now be, again, it can be a little bit of what do you want in the team for this any given game. Now, with everything that's in here, you probably want a good supply for Gittins on this left side. You probably want somebody who can create from those central areas, but also carry the ball forwards. And this is where someone like Simons or Rogers or Eze maybe fits really nicely in the number 10. Okay. Now, again, the problem with this is now you're essentially a midfielder light unless you're playing Simons and Palmer as those number 8s, which is now where all this flexibility starts to come in. Now, this is kind of why I wanted to add a lot of sort of context to this chat, because in tomorrow's video, you're going to see why I think Simons makes a lot of sense now that we've signed Gittins, because I think if I show you now what I think one of the like key teams could be next season. Now, Esteval, I think, so good. But I do think that eventually, where's João Pedro? Yeah. I do think that maybe he needs a little bit of time to settle in. So I do think that João Pedro will probably start as the striker. If Simons was to be in here, he's probably going to be your secondary creator, okay, as your pocket player. Now, you probably lack a runner. But with Palmer coming off the right in this instance, Gittins starting because he is your main outlet threat that we've bought in this summer. He's a powerful runner. This is why I made it so clear that I wanted Gittins through the door before we signed one of these hybrid players, because I think that his skill set is something that we need massively. So then, all of a sudden, you kind of want Gusto. Can't find Gusto now. There. He's going to be your runner. And we saw that against PSG. So now you've got Gusto and Gittins offering those relentless runs. You've got Cucurella, you've got these players behind the ball. And now, yes, for James, what that does mean is, do you see him playing as a central midfielder? Do you see him maybe getting rested where some games he doesn't play at all? And again, it's maybe Enzo in there, and you've got this two-man midfield here, where Enzo can play a bit deeper. Now, we're going to talk about why Simons is again, one of his sort of key traits is he can track back quite well, and he will defend backwards as well as forwards, which could help to protect Enzo. And of course, he has Cucurella on that side of the pitch as well. So it's a way of protecting Enzo Fernandez in a deeper role by having somebody who can work hard here. That's something we spoke about with João Pedro as well. Whereas, let's say with Eze, maybe doesn't have that same sort of ability to run backwards as quickly and to work as hard off the ball. Let's not say he doesn't work at all, but he has some other different traits, whereas that I think maybe Simons doesn't have. Now, again, I'm going to leave that for tomorrow's video to talk about the exact traits that these players have that would help and wouldn't help. But what I wanted to sort of speak about, and what I want you guys to sort of comment on, is what do you think the best balance in our attack is next season? Because if we were to say have Simons on the left, where I'm going to end off with this sort of like hypothetical, get rid of these boxes. Let's say Gittins isn't fully ready, Simons is starting off the left. Palmer's probably in the 10, which means Gusto probably isn't in the team, and it's maybe Reece James sort of inverting. Let's put Reece James in the midfield with Casado. In this scenario, with Simons on the left, Enzo in the pocket, and Palmer here, you've got a lot of ball-to-feet inside players. So I think you'd either be asking a lot of Cucurella, just trying to get an arrow there, you'd either be asking a lot of Cucurella to really get forward and sort of only leave 4 at the back so that he can really become an extra runner. This would probably have to be Neto to offer that runner. And again, this is when we've lost Madueke now. We don't have that. Exactly what Zach says here. With that setup, you need Neto right wing bare minimum because you don't have the runners. And maybe in this scenario, yes, João Pedro can run the channels, but maybe you want somebody a bit more relentless. So maybe in that sense, you do want someone like Nicholas Jackson in there. Because you've got so much creativity, you need runners to sort of take away and allow Palmer to have that more space in the box. Now, again, João Pedro has the ability to do all of those things. So it's not like you can't start with him in there. But it's just one of those sort of things that I think is something to take into account. And this video, this sort of section, was more so to give you context ready to apply in tomorrow's video when we speak about Javi Simons and what he can add to the team. Because I do think that now that we've signed Gittins, I'm much more open to Javi Simons than I was before we signed Gittins, because of the extra sort of transition power and speed and pace on the outside of a block that I do think that Chelsea need. So we're going to go from there. Let's open it back up to the comments. Zach said something here. The lineup with the front 4 of JP, because I want to put that back up, because if we was to sign Simons, I think that this would, and this goes against what I've been saying in terms of where I want Palmer to play, because I prefer him as a 10. But because we've sold Madueke, and we've sort of traded it for Gittins, who offers similar traits but on the left side, I kind of open myself back up to actually wanting Palmer on the right, because, like, with the outlet plays with Gittins on that left side. And I think he needs to be in the team if you're going to have both Simons and Palmer in the pockets. So again, this is where perhaps this is... Let's just put it as Enzo and Casado, which, again, this would change game to game because Reece James is not just going to be left out every game. He's the captain, and you've seen ridiculous performances from him. I thought he was really good in midfield against... who do we call him? PSG. So that is sort of where I'm at the minute. The reason, now that we can we've ended that section, let's talk about these other options as well. Now, Rodgers, I think, gives you a little bit more dynamism, because I think you can leave Rodgers out on that left-hand side and you can tell him to be a runner. You can say, Rodgers, like, you're more of a flex player, you're more of that purple, but in this game, we want you to be a bit more of a runner. We want you to hold the width a bit, and then when Cucurella gets forward, then you can unlock and come a bit more inside. But you have more physical traits. And again, similar to Eze, what I like more about these two in comparison to Simons, and it's not to say that, again, there's things about Simons that I like more than I like about Rodgers and Eze. But with Rodgers and Eze, their build and their sort of ability to shield the ball with their slightly wider, they've got a longer body, they've got bigger sort of upper body, ability to shield the ball and protect it, especially in the Premier League, which is so physical, is key. And whilst I think Simons has he has good movement of his body when he's in the middle of the pitch to sort of go in multiple different directions, be agile, and win a foul. But with Rodgers and Eze, I think they have more ability to go on the outside, power past the player, whereas Simons, I think, quite easily can get bullied off the ball by players that are bigger than him, stronger than him, have a bigger upper body than him. Whereas Rodgers and Eze don't have that same capacity. And the reason I put Garnacho sort of on the screen here too is purely because we're obviously still linked. I don't think it's worthwhile at all anymore. I still think that, similar to what it is with Jackson and why I think United are looking at him, I think the metrics for these players suggest that there's something that if you got it for the right value, it's not a bad deal to get. But now that you've got Gittins, again, Garnacho offers you very similar qualities in terms of maybe doesn't have the same sort of power in his stride, but he's a relentless runner into the back line. He will get shots off. He's not afraid with that shot volume. Again, something that Gittins brings. So that is something that they definitely need. They definitely don't need as much anymore now that you've got Gittins. So that's why I put him on screen, but I just don't think it would make much sense to not, because it wouldn't really be offering a new profile. Whereas somebody like that flex profile that we're talking about. Let me quickly go through the bits I missed. Do a low block versus high press with how Simons and Palmer change positions. How do you mean, Reese? How do you mean? Because, like I say, this is like one option, but I think the whole idea of signing these hybrid players like a Simons, like a Rodgers, like a João Pedro, is that the idea will be that lineups change week to week. The usage of these players change week to week. What I was trying to get at with the roles is that I think no matter how you change the team each week, you want to try and keep some sort of consistency of what the attacking roles are in the team. That's kind of what I was getting at. But I do think the positioning of the players will change quite a lot. Balance for next season: Rodgers/Gittins left wing, matchup dependent. Palmer cam, Neto right wing, Pedro striker, long term, Pedro left wing. Palmer, Cam, Esteval right wing, Delap striker. I'm assuming you mean Pedro Neto. João Pedro on the left. That's interesting. That's something, yeah. So, but you say long term. So then, what would happen to Rodgers in your scenario? Gusto is the system. I've said it for so long with Gusto. For me, it's nothing positionally to do with Gusto. I just like his pure. I think there's certain traits that he brings to the team, no matter what position he's in, that I like. I think he's extremely agile, extremely mobile, extremely sort of intense, and I think that he brings a lot of that to the game. And I think no matter where you have him on the pitch, he's somebody that is important, not to start every game, but to have in your arsenal. Some games you won't need him at all. Some games you might need him off the bench. Some games you might need him to start, and he'll be very important. I just think I would not be selling Gusto just because I think he brings a lot of traits to the team, and I think Maresca likes him for that reason. Do you think we need to add anyone if Jackson leaves and we add Simons? I kind of do, because like I said, I think that Jackson is one of your other runners. Now, Delap can do that too, but I think if you're going to add Simons, and I think somebody put it here, somebody put, have I missed it? Where is it? The Simons signing for me means Jackson has to leave. I'm on the contrary. I think if Simons signs, I think it's even more reason to keep Jackson, because I think that will mean that you need to switch it to have a runner in this position more often than you don't when you have Simons in the team. Whether that's Gittins on this side, and yes, of course, like I said, if you've got Gittins and Gusto, then that can be João Pedro more often. But I think that there'll be certain iterations where you need to switch it and have someone like Jackson up front if you're going to have these two as double pocket players, because you need that player to be stretching the pitch so that this space doesn't just become that sort of like tight space, but it becomes that space. And you want them to have as much space to dominate as possible. So I think that's why someone like Jackson would become even more important. Again, whether it's starting, whether it's off the bench, whether it's certain games that you need his sort of skill set. Where are we at? who's down here, I think. Agree with that, but Simons does have a quick burst of pace over the first 4 to 5 yards. He does. But I prefer that on the inside. I think that's best for him when it comes to creating separation rather than sort of beating somebody on the outside, is how I sort of see it when I watch him quite a bit. But I do agree, his burst is very, very good over those first few yards. And again, he's very shifty, very, very shifty. We've got a lot to catch up on there. So if I haven't replied and you really want something answered, just retype it because we're going to come back from here. Don't you think Delap does that? Yes, he does. But as well, when João Pedro is a bit more of sort of an in-between phase player, and Delap is that, if one of them goes down injured, you end up in a role where you've only got one and you don't have the capacity to keep it and like change it up. And I think what Delap offers that none of them offer is the box threat. Now, João Pedro is good in the air, but Delap is a bit more sort of hustle in terms of what he'll attack in the box. So I do think you need a third striker based on like the roles that you're trying to implement in the team. 120 people in here. Zach is right. I did not even see that. That's crazy. Let's quickly refresh. Let's see what we're on for likes. 120 people in the building. We've got 52 likes. I'm going to quickly check my phone to make sure nothing has happened. But yeah, can you lot? 115 in the chat. Let's like the stream. Let's sub if we haven't already. The support on this channel has been nuts the last few weeks. 116. Let's get this to 100 likes. If we can get it to 100 likes before we even sort of get close to ending the stream, that would be huge. We're on 60 already, so we need 40 likes for that. Guiu third choice, possibly, but I do think he's going to go out on loan. But again, maybe if Jackson goes, maybe you have to keep Guiu as that third. Is Simons good at set pieces? Is he a better free kick than Palmer? He is good at set pieces. Palmer's tough one to sort of judge because he's only really come into sort of like taking set pieces more recently, sort of this last season. I don't think he'd take them off Palmer, but he gives you another option for sure in terms of what you're saying about free kicks, because of course you have Reece James as well. Yes, João Pedro's natural tendencies is to drop deep and get on the ball. That's true for sure. He likes that little pocket space sort of closer. So again, that's another sort of part of this sort of dynamic. You have three players really that want to sort of receive the ball there. So if you're going to do that, which is something that we do quite a lot under Maresca, where we sort of almost create this pentagon in the middle here, that means that these players have to be the ones that are sort of making those runs in behind. These two have to be stretching the pitch. What about Guiu? Yeah, like I just said, John Lowe, possibly. 1 second. Okay. We need a backup for left back for Kukurea. I don't want him getting burnt out. Yeah, Jarrell Hato for me is like definitely somebody I want brought in for sure. What's up, Will Kelly? How are you doing? I'm doing very well. So yes, let me know how you guys are doing. If you've just joined, Will Kelly, somebody that always. I feel like you always join late, Will. I feel like you're somebody that always joins in late. Am I right in saying that, or do you just sometimes watch in and you're not actually in this? Like you just don't type for the first bit. Rodgers' passing is atrocious. He's not really a passer as such. I wouldn't say it's atrocious. Like statistically, like you say, I can't actually speak to his like off the top of my head his passing stats. But what I would say is that his ability to sort of play threaded through balls on the carry are quite good actually. In terms of the spaces that, like when he eats up ground and then plays that final ball, I wouldn't say it's a bad sort of trait of his. Was watching Gusto barely able to make a simple pass all season just because he had a good game in the final. People forgetting. I've always been the same on Gusto personally. I like Gusto. I think he offers certain traits. I think he had a poor season in regards to simple actions such as passing, as you're suggesting, but he's somebody that I would not sell purely because I think, like we saw in the PSG game, there is certain traits and certain things that he brings to the team that others don't, in my opinion. João Pedro dropped deep most times in Gittins and net overall receivers ball. Yeah, that's for sure. Like I said, Gittins will be absolutely key with that. I think it's more of a mark. It's a bit of both, CFC King, because it's a necessary signing in terms of I think it's necessary that we sign a right-footed hybrid player. for that sort of left wing /10 position. So I do think it's necessary. I think the reason that Simons over others is more market opportunity. So I think it's between the two. I think it's a little bit of both. Do you think Hato is similar to Cucurella, or is he more of an overlapping fullback, and how will that translate to the system? Hato is very much like Cucurella in the sense that he can operate on all different heights and all different depths and all different lanes, in my opinion. He can be that left centre-back. He can support on the overlap. He can invert in central areas. He's got the physicality to sort of back up the press. He's intense. I think he'd be the perfect sort of backup to Cucurella, but he can also get minutes at centre-back as well. So it's a good way to sort of keep those minutes flowing. Yeah, confidence with Gusto. I agree with that. Up the Chelsea, says Joe Waxy. Can Javi Simons play as a backup number 10 for Cole Palmer? Absolutely. Absolutely. That'll be another way of getting him minutes for sure, if you're not starting him off the left. Hard to judge Rodgers' passing ability due to Villa being more transitional. Yeah, that's true. Chalobah and Tosin get right centre-back on lock, or does Hato shift to left centre-back, then Cole will right centre-back? Again, I think it all changes because you've also got to mention Fofana here as well. So Fofana's another one. If he stays fit, then Cole and Fofana, they're my two centre-backs, when Fofana can stay fit. What's up, Thomas? I'm doing very well. How are you? Would have thought João Pedro's the left-wing hybrid player, but that was one thing that I did think he would have been that. But I thought he was going to be a left-wing 10 and striker option. I thought he was going to be all three, which I still think he will be. So, yes, it's an interesting one. I'll be very intrigued to see longer, because I think he'll start the season as the striker now. I do. With the dynamics and how things work. So let's see how things develop with him. Why are we looking for this hybrid left-wing 10 instead of just an out-and-out left wing? Because I think we've got Gittins as that out-and-out left wing, and you can shift Neto over to that left side. And, of course, you've got Kenda, who can play on both sides when he comes in as well. So I think the idea of having a hybrid is quite a good idea, really. And I do think it is important, because especially as well, something that Simons offers, something that all these guys offer, well, these two guys, not Garnacho, is that central carrying that I do think that we lack. Yeah, I already miss it as well. Zach, we all got to remember if Fofana stays fit, he's a nailed starter, yeah, for sure. Does this maybe give some opportunities for Josh as the wide right centre-back? I'd hope so. I'm a big fan of... Sorry, mate. What are you sorry for, Will? Are you on about... Because I was just wondering if you sometimes join in late. I thought that wasn't like a dig, no way. That was just a observation. I'm going to quickly refresh, because I think we're on 70 likes. We need to get this up to 100. We're on 69 likes. Can we get that up to 100? Got 116 in the building. Let's get that up to 100. Let's get that up. Also read somewhere the club view Josh as a centre-back long-term. Yeah, like I said, a centre-back, right centre-back. Well, a right centre-back / right-back hybrid is ideal. He just said Liverpool the favourite to sign Gurhey. Interesting. I did think that would still... Will did something bad. What did he do, Reece? Having Neto Gittins as pure wingers, then Esteval Simons as playmakers seems nice balance. Yeah? Are Wirtz and Simons similar in your opinion? In the sense of, yeah, positionally, they're both like that left half space. They've definitely got similarities. I wouldn't say they're identical players, but they've definitely got similarities. Yeah, for sure. Especially in the role they want to do. Kenda could do that. He's good enough to, but I just don't see it, because I think part of the promise would be that he's going to be like a touchline winger and stay high up. So I don't think he will, but that's definitely, he's got the quality to do that. What do you think about all these Swiss Army knife players, which are versatile, but they never end up specialising in a certain position? It causes some problems. It does, because like you said, with Vega, João Felix, even Nkunku, but I think if you get the right, again, it all comes down to like the traits they have. So someone like Simons, I think he works hard enough off the ball. And again, the athleticism is quite key to a lot of these players, which is again why Rodgers for me is such a like ideal sort of player. If you have versatile, athletic, and hard-working players as those hybrids, then it works way better, because you know that you can put them in any position and get a tune out of them. Whereas if you put somebody like Nkunku in an unfavoured position and he's not working at his hardest, then they can essentially become a weak link quite a lot quicker. So that's sort of where the issues come from for me. I do think having Swiss Army knife players in your team is very important, because it gives you tactical flexibility. I think managers that will utilise that, if they like the player, someone like Maresca, someone like Slot, I think we're seeing even more hybrid players being signed this summer, or even last year. Like, I think every team really, like Liverpool with Wirtz, City, of course, they got Marmoush, who's a bit of a hybrid player now for them. I think Shirky as well for City. We're seeing a lot of those players signed to give those options to the managers to be a bit more sort of, what do you call it? I don't even think what I was going to say because I just saw this. Because I have to disagree. Oh, I do. 52 million for Madueke. I don't think he's personally. I wouldn't have sold him less than Elanga or who was the other one that was getting compared? Not in Burmo. I'm trying to think of somebody else that's gone as a winger. But for me, Madueke is worth more than that. Again, it's 48 plus 4. And again, another reason now is that I think he would have been perfect to have if you could have had one in the team, you have Madueke on the right some weeks, Gittins not in the team, and then some weeks you have Gittins in the team and then Madueke not on the right. Because I do think you'd have been able to switch and have one on each side. It is, Kais. It is. It's mad. It is Kudus. Yes, Kudus. I think that it was Kudus. But yeah, I think he was worth at least that 55 mark if they were going for that. I just didn't have it. This is like my Club World Cup board, Joe, and I've added like Gittins and like these players, so I just forgot to add Fofana, but he would be in here for sure. Chelsea bias, but Simons for 50 is a better deal than Wirtz for 117, especially considering the numbers are pretty similar. That's going to be one we have to just watch, isn't it? Because Simons would have to be like he'd have to get the minutes more often than not. Because Wirtz is going to, I do think Wirtz is going to bang, especially now that he has Ekitike. And Thomas saying, "How do you think Ekitike will do?" I think he'll be doing nuts. I see. Well, I see. All good. Yeah, I like Kudus. There's nothing against him. Again, I just think similar, like Madueke offers similar sort of directness. Like what Kudus did the other day on the touchline, where he sort of took 3-4 players out of the game with sort of quick movement, burst the pace away, and down the touchline. That's something, in my opinion, Madueke has that capacity, and people go nuts for it because it's a trait that is valuable in a winger, and I do think that Madueke has that. These are the perfect streams to wake up to, not gonna lie. That is very nice to hear. What will happen to Santos, Lavia, and Asugo game time? Again, they'll just yeah, I think we will as well. I think we will. The only reason I think maybe we don't regret it as much is because he'll be playing on the left, and we've brought in Gittins, who I think can bring similar traits. So maybe the signings that we make will sort of take away from the regret, but he's definitely somebody that I wouldn't have sold this summer. I'd have waited till Kenda joined to sell him personally. Can Simons play as a false 9? I mean, in the same way that Cole could. Yeah, he could, but I just wouldn't. Outscored Noni last season's. Again, Garnacho's another one of those players, though, that has underlying numbers that could explode if in the right environment and if nurtured properly. It's just, what's the risk reward of the deal? And now that you've got Gittins, I wouldn't go near him anyway. But also the attitude issues. Do you think Josh can invert into midfield from centre-back? If not, who amongst our centre-backs can? Josh could. Who else? Chalobah technically could, I think, just because of, again, he's done it. But it depends what you want from them, because if you want them receiving with their back to goal, which usually you would in the pivot, you need to have a little bit more sort of like that midfield mind. So maybe not really any of them for that job, but for certain other sort of aspects, then yeah, maybe a Josh, maybe a Chalobah. Can I see the lineup with Lavia? I mean, it would pretty much just be this, wouldn't it? It would mean that Enzo's not in, or Simons isn't in and Enzo's there. Quite simple, really. But yeah, imagine Huijsen in this. Oh, don't. Do you think Gabriel Salina will be our third choice keeper for next season? I do. I think he will. I don't think he'll get very many opportunities, if any, but I think he probably will. No, don't think Lavia gets sold. I think he's just one of those players that when he's fit, brilliant. If he's not, you've now got Andre and Asugo as well in there, so you got sort of good enough depth. So no, I don't think he would be. Thoughts on fans just slating players like Noni and Jackson, which makes no sense at all. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. Like I say, Jackson for me, I wouldn't be selling him. Now that Ekitike's off the market, I would not be selling Jackson. No. And now that you've sold Madueke, again, now that you've sold Madueke and you're not getting Ekitike, for me, I would not sell Jackson at all unless the money is at like 65, like ridiculous high, like 60 million, like. And even then, I think we just need that profile as an option. Wilson is our Elise this season. Yeah. Enzo didn't always play as a 10. I'm not sure. You two are just having a chat between yourselves, I think. Javi created more big chances than Wirtz last 2 seasons. Sorry, I'm really far behind, but basically Simons is a secondary creator and Rogers and Eze is a flex player. Yeah, again, though, I think they could be a bit of both. I think that all of them can be that flex player. The point I was trying to make is sort of, what do you want from that flex player? Do you want the carrying ability? Do you want the more physicality? Like what Rogers and Eze can give you is a little bit more physicality on the outside of a block. What Simons can give you is a little bit more sort of technical quality on the inside of a block. So what traits do you need more, and how can you fit pieces around them, such as Gittins, to get the most and still make sure that you've got optimal balance? So now that you've got Gittins, someone like Simons makes a lot more sense than if you didn't have Gittins. Let's say that you'd have got Rogers and Malik Fofana, which maybe even then it's not enough power in my opinion, but I think you need someone like Rogers. He gives you the more physicality. 20 more likes. What are we on? Assuming that means we're on 80. So we're on 69 now. We're on 77. We need 23 likes to hit 100. We've got about 10 more minutes of the stream. And then we're going to have a video out tonight as well. Champions League depth is looking very good. It is. Let's get those likes up. 23 more likes before we end the stream. Why do you believe we will regret selling Noni? Again, like I said, there's reasons that we maybe won't regret it as much this season because he'll be playing on the left at Arsenal, so we might not get the same sort of level of explosion that I think he'd get if he was on the right. But I think the underlying numbers were top. I think the directness that he brought was brilliant. I think, again, he brings you that runner type. He can sort of make things happen out of nothing. He's willing to take on. He's got the goldfish trait. He can go not even just 1v1. He can also go 1v2. I think there's a lot of reasons, and I do think he's on that brink of a really good season in terms of numbers, as well as output, as well as just eye test. I do think Noni will turn out good at Arsenal. Yeah, I do. I think he'll be a good player for them. I don't know if it will be as the level that I think that he can become, just because, like I say, if he's going to be playing more on the left than he will on the right because of Saka. So we'll see. Are you against the signing of Javi Simons? No, I'm not. Now that we've got Gittins, I'm not. I was initially, say this was Malik Fofana and we didn't sign Gittins, but we signed Malik Fofana, then I would be quite a bit more against Simons. Everything you just said Neto can do. Not as much power, and his underlying numbers in terms of a goal-scoring winger are nowhere near as good. But Neto, I did also say I want to keep Neto more than I want to keep Noni in terms of further down the line. So it's nothing against Neto. I think Neto was our best player in the Club World Cup, and I would not be selling Neto at all. I really value Neto for this squad, but I think there's differences between the two and what they can offer you. Can Simons play on the wing as well? He can. But like I say, I think it's about what you can get around him. So again, we'll touch on that more in tomorrow's video because I think it's quite key to who you can have with him and how. Because yes, he can play on the left. He can also play on the right. He played on the right for the Netherlands. He was playing on the right, and then you'd have Dumfries on the outside of him at right back, sort of being that overlapper. You have the two. What are we at? We're at 55 minutes. Random question. If Lavia does not fix his injuries next season, I would like Tanaka from Leeds to replace him. I like Tanaka a lot. I don't think he's a neat. Like, I think even if he sold Lavia, you double down on Santos. So I don't think you'd need to. Tanaka though, a good player. What do you think should be the plan for Guiu? I would look to loan him to Ipswich and sort of become the lap player this season. That would be like my first initial move for him. Jackson is sold. What kind of 9 would you want to replace him? So I was just reading something. Where are we at? If Jackson is sold, what kind of 9 would you want to replace him? Literally Ekitike, like that type, because I think you need a runner who creates XG from chaos and creates XG from low. It's a high XG creator from low XG chances, and that's what I think Jackson gives you. So yeah. Don't you think Ekitike has a stature where ball carrying transition play would be average? It should be, but it's not, because he's a freak in that sense that he carries and moves like what's the generic term? It's like good feet for a big man. Will the physicality of our league affect Simons? Yes, I do. On the outside of the pitch, I think it will. But I do think that he can adapt well enough given the right support around him. But it's something that should be taken into account, yeah. Do we target a left back that can be Gusto or more of a left centre back, left back hybrid? Hato offers all of this. So, Hato, please. Just came in the stream, but can this exact team, if you made work instead of Lavia, it's Enzo? Yeah, so I only put Lavia in there because somebody asked, but I do think that the way that this team works, pardon me, Simons would cover nicely and Cucurella would cover nicely in terms of having counter pressers around Enzo Fernandez. I do think that Simons does work quite well to allow Enzo to play a bit deeper. So I think that is something that people would quite like. I think Simons does kind of give you that chance. Don't know. I think a few injuries and you'll miss runners more than you'll miss creative types. Yeah, I think that's true. I do think that's true now that you sold Madueke. I agree. My target for Chelsea next season: get top 4 and qualify for Champions League, win domestic cup next season, League Cup or FA Cup. I'd love to. That's what I've been saying. I want a cup run next year. Really. Can we play a high line with Chalobah, or is Wes critical for this? We can with Chalobah, but Wes is like the guy for that. 250 is just ridiculous. Like, I want to say no because he is my favourite player, but 250, like I feel like you just have to sell him at that, don't you? Like, even then, I don't want to. Like the fan in me wants to say no, really. But what would you guys say to that? I'm gonna end the stream in a sec, so I'm just gonna get to the end of this. How in the hell is Tyler saying Liverpool still want Isaac Rodrigo and go? It's mad, isn't it? Mad. Simons gives me Bernardo Silva vibes. Yeah, I can see that. Back to the Madueke stuff just for a second. Gittins would have been a way better signing. Genuinely think Gittins will explode. Yeah, I do. I think he'll explode. Physicality and height, yeah, for sure. Lads Kenda plays for Lisbon against Sunderland. Yeah, I'm going to be watching that tonight because I'm doing a lot of work on Sunderland at the minute because their transfers have been mad. Yeah, Zach. Because they're signing a left winger, I agree. I think someone like Gittins. Obviously, they wanted Nico Williams, but it sort of never really materialised. But yeah, I agree. If they was going for more of an out-and-out left winger, that's why I think that's the only reason that I'm slightly more. I don't know what the wording would be. I'm not as sort of fussed that he's gone to Arsenal purely because they didn't because he's going to play more on the left. Thank God they're not getting back. Oh, imagine. Whereas Enzo is a one-of-one player, there is no direct replacement in the market. I genuinely close to agreeing with that. Yeah. Felix Johnson said Hato is not great at 1v1 defending. He can bite quite easily, a bit like Cucurella, like in terms of when they bite. Cucurella, obviously, he's sort of become so intense that he's very good 1v1 now, sort of like moving his feet backwards quickly. So that's something Hato could improve on. So I wouldn't say he's a great 1v1 defender, but he's got the intensity and the physical traits of a defender that I like. So that's not something that worries me. Going to have so much attacking quality next season. Yeah. 30 more likes, right? Because I'm going to end the stream in 2 minutes because I've got lots and lots to do. Should do a video with Felix. Felix Johnston? Probably could do a little sort of video before the season starts in pre-season if you guys would like to see that. Is there anybody else you guys would like to see as well? Because that's another thing that was nuts. George Benson just gave me a random shout out the other day, which was mad. Don't know how many of you guys watch him, but he gave me a shout out on one of his videos and again did really well for the growth of the channel. So that was nuts. But yeah, I'm looking to try and do as many sort of collabs as I can at the minute, so especially in pre-season. Loved the stream, man. Gained a viewer. Let's go. Thanks a lot, A-Kid. I think we're on 89 or 90 likes. 89, we need 11 likes. 11 likes, please. Big up, Will. Big up, Will. Are you going to upload the VOD? Join late. Yeah, so I'm going to upload a separate video tonight. The whole stream will be uploaded straight after this, Joel. So yes, tonight, we're going to have a video out. Tomorrow, we're going to have a video out every day of the week. I might as well just say it like that. We've got daily uploads this week because I've been on holiday and I want to keep the momentum of this going. Esteval, I think, will play as a 10 and a right wing. I think he'll be both. I think he'll play more on the right, but I think you'll see a little bit of a good rotation between him and Palmer. So let's see what happens there. Going to show that we've done that. Link up with Don CFC. A few people have said this name. I don't know who that is. I might have to look him up because I'm not aware. Don CFC, but I've a few people have brought him up to me, like in these streams and things. Goldberg's playback. Yeah, I'm in there quite a bit. Just sort of like when I'm working, I just sort of leave it on in the background to listen to. So yeah, hopefully, yes, Raccoon. I'm on the grind this week. Want to get back to it. Like I say, the support has been too mad. So I just need to just keep everything up with it. I want to keep the growth. Whilst the algorithm is favouring me and whilst the support is high, let's make the most of it. Yeah, Charlie Patrick, yeah. I get along well with him. I've done quite a few bits with him on his channel as well. So, yeah, through pre-season, I'll try and get as many of these guys on as possible. For me, he's more of a creator, but he does have sort of those long shot tendencies, and he's a good ball striker. Have you watched Superman? I haven't watched Superman. I'm much more Marvel than I am Superman. I'm very much looking forward to Fantastic Four. Comes out Thursday. Very much looking forward to that. But no, I'm not really one for DC. The last DC film I watched was probably Superman: Man of Steel. So that was like years ago. But yeah, I've heard good things. I've heard it's really, really good. Let's have a quick refresh. See where we're at. See where we're at. I originally found your channel from George's. Really, Stefan? Did he? I don't think he's. The only time he ever gave me a shout out was literally a few days ago. And I swear you've been around for way longer, Stefan. Do you mean that you found my channel through like a recommended video on George's channel? Is that what you mean? Yes, I have been on Charlie's channel. I have quite a few times. Charlie's brilliant. He's a top guy. Really nice guy. It's a little bit on and off, I think. I can't really remember it off the top of my head. If I have a quick look, I think he sort of has quite a few small ones over the years. So I do think it's something that pops up every now and again. Ruben Amorim days. Oh, okay, I see. Stafford Bridge. Yeah, that's what's his name? Keir. It's Keir, isn't it? Keir Doyle. Yeah, he's decent as well. He's decent. I could definitely do something with him, or maybe ask to do something. Charlie and you are the best Chelsea creators by far. Thank you very much, Thomas. Maybe it was Charlie's. Yeah, you did go on Charlie's channel. Charlie and Lawrence are the two that I've been on a fair amount in my sort of earlier days. Yeah, Kieran Doyle. Yeah. Trying to look at his injury record, but nothing's loading. So we'll cover that in tomorrow's video anyway. So yeah. One more refresh because we're on 100 views. Can we really quickly? 94, 6 more people. Who's going to be legends and get that to 100 so that I can end the stream? It's just, I don't know what it is, but it seems like whenever you hit 100 likes on a stream, it rockets way quicker than, say, even if I left it at like 80 to 90. It just helps the algorithm straight away, really. So I'm loving the love from all the Chelsea channels. Big up to everyone of you, for sure. Yes, it's very, show the depth we can have. I'll do that. I'm going to do another stream on maybe even tomorrow, either tomorrow or Thursday, to go along with the daily upload. So we'll do a little depth chart in our next stream, for sure, if that's what you guys want to see. Right, we're going to end it now. 98, so on your way out, if 2 more of you could drop a like, that would be brilliant. Make sure you don't miss the video that will be out later tonight on the channel. And again, daily uploads all week, more streams, all of that good stuff. Don't miss it. All support, thank you very much. What time tomorrow? If we do a stream, probably the same sort of time, maybe let's say 1 or 2 o'clock UK. If you follow me on Twitter, I will put it out there beforehand. So yeah, thanks everybody for support. Gonna end it there. Let's go. Dropping a little selly at the game tonight. Let's go, Raccoon. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.